Okay, hello everybody. Today we are going to talk about Tichborne Elegy. Now, today on this poem, we're going to talk about a different type of poetry. We in the very first we talked the first examples of samples of poetry. We talked about an epic like um, Beowulf. We talked about Canterbury Tales. We talked about love sonnets, sonnet 18. We talked about Christopher Marlowe's the Passionate Shepherd to his love, and now we're going to take an example about a type of um, elegy, type of poetry which was called elegy. And when we talk about elegy, let's drop back to what we were talking about elegy, and basically, elegy is a formal lament for the death of a particular person. Okay, so mainly the main action in an elegy is lamenting the death of a particular person. Most commonly in elegies, we talk about a person who is lamenting the death of another person, but the case here in this poem is different. We have the writer, Tichborne, and he's lamenting the death of himself. So in this case, we have the writer who is the same as the speaker. There's no separation between the speaker and the writer. For example, when we're talking about the poem The Passionate Shepherd to His Love, we were talking about separation and segregation between the writer, Christopher Marlowe, and the shepherd who is speaking, and the one who is reciting, or the one who is talking, the one who is sending a message in the poem The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. He was the shepherd. But in our case here, at this elegy, Tichborne is the writer and the speaker. Now, let's have a look, or let's listen to uh, recitation for the poem.
My prime of youth is but a frost of cares, my feast of joy is but a dish of pain. My crop of corn is but a field of tares, and all my good is but vain hope of gain. The day is gone, and yet I saw no sun, and now I live, and now my life is done. The spring is past, and yet it hath not sprung. The fruit is dead, and yet the leaves are green. My youth My prime of youth is but a frost of cares, my feast of joy is but a dish of pain. My crop of corn is but a field of tares, and all my good is but vain hope of gain. The day is gone, and yet I saw no sun, and now I live, and now my life is done. The spring is past, and yet it hath not sprung. The fruit is dead, and yet the leaves are green. My youth is gone, and yet I am but young. I saw the world, and yet I was not seen. My thread is cut, and yet it was not spun. And now I live, and now my life is done. I sought my death and found it in my womb. I looked for life and saw it was a shade. I trod the earth and knew it was my tomb. And now I die, and now I am but made. The glass is full, and now the glass is run. And now I live, and now my life is done.
Okay. Um, sorry. Okay. Unlike most of the poems, where usually the writer or the poet is is a different person than the one who is narrating or the speaker in this poem. Okay. At this case, the poem we are having here, it is a well known that Tichborne Elegy, okay, or Tichborne is in this case he is the poet himself and the speaker. Tichborne was born into a Catholic family. He was a Catholic at the time or within the context that England was living a hard and harsh conflict between Catholics and Protestants at that time. During that time, Queen Elizabeth I made adopting or declared that adopting the Catholic beliefs, the Christian Catholic beliefs, illegal. He and his father rebelled was were one amongst the English Catholics who rebelled against this law. So they joined a plot against the Queen Elizabeth. The plot was organized by a group of English Catholics in order and they were attempting to assassinate Queen Elizabeth, who was at that time was a Protestant. They were mainly attempting to crown Queen Mary of Scotland as the Queen of England. She was at that time, Mary is not the same Mary that preceded Elizabeth, but there was a different Queen Mary. She was the Queen of Scotland at that time, and she was Catholic. Tichborne and his group were mainly attempting to assassinate, or claims were made that they were trying to assassinate Queen Elizabeth in order to remove her, we're referring as her, the Queen Elizabeth the Protestant, from the crown. Tichborne was arrested and imprisoned. It was during his imprisonment that Tichborne Elegy was written. This elegy was mainly written one night before his execution. He was imprisoned in the Tower of London, and he wrote this poem one night before his execution. Here, the speaker and the narrator, Tichborne, in this poem, talks about his life. He talks about things that he regrets. He's not regretting death, okay, but he regrets things about his life, which he can no longer do. He can no longer do anything about this, such things. He sees himself as a fruit in the tree, which is still green, okay, and as if he's containing certain point. The poem begins with a speaker stating that he is in the prime of his youth, okay, and this youth is not going to proceed. His youth is not going to go on. His youth is not his life is not going to go on, and he his life will be frozen in this case. The speaker here again refers to an important point here, which is he can no longer go back to his past. He can no longer go back to his past, and he can no longer get into the present, the happiness of the present time. And the reason behind that we have two main things. That the first point, that he is in the prison of the Tower of London, he's imprisoned. He doesn't possess his freedom. This is number one. And the second thing, that he in the following day he is going to be executed. The speaker again goes further in describing and discussing and talking about his life and how much potential his life would have been without his death. His life is filled with tears and wounds which are by the end of his death are stopping him from keeping hope. He has no longer he doesn't have anything to think about or to help. Now let's go back to the stanzas here. In the first stanza, ah, in the first stanza, in the first stanza here, in the first stanza, the speaker highlights and outlines how and in what way his youth is declining. The speaker, though the poet here, is able to see himself from an outsider perspective and providing an understanding that he is no longer going to be alive and his life is declining. These lines are especially at the time when we say or when we know that the speaker and the writer are the same person here, and the speaker of this poem is going to be executed in the following day. Okay, the most important thing here when we go into the analysis of this poem is to talk about the contradictions and paradoxes that are present in this poem. Mainly, such paradoxes and contradictions are evolved or evoked by the contradictions that the speaker and the writer are living by themselves now at the moment this poem was written. We need to understand to know that the speaker, as we said, that the speaker and the writer are the same person, and the poet who wrote this poem is mainly writing the poem just few hours before his death. So basically, he's alive, but he's dead. He is alive, but he's experiencing death just a long time before he's actually dead. Such feelings and contradictions and paradox are can easily be traced. Like in the first line, we need to pay attention to this prime of youth against frost cares. Here, the writer is mainly questioning the value of the case, the important things that he cares about, the important things that he's supposed to or he used to care about, the important things, the things that that are used to amuse him or annoy him. Okay, we're talking about cares. Anything that evokes such a feeling, annoyment or happiness, and such things during the prime of his youth, during the peak, during the highest level of his youth. Such things that usually ordinary people do care about and feel passionate about, uh, for him are frozen, like he's no longer thinking or caring about anything else. Again, when we go back when we go to the second line, we can see contradictions and paradoxes. Okay, we can see here the feast of joy, basically, and a dish of pain. And we need to focus on joy and pain. Okay, uh, and reconnect this point to the contradictions of life and death. He's alive, physically he's alive, but his spirit, his soul is no longer alive. Okay, his soul is dead, but he is alive with his body. He's still breathing. Actually, if you question some question, raise a question, for example, is Tichborne alive? What was Tichborne alive when he wrote his this poem? You can see, easily you can see he say yes, he was alive or he's alive. He was alive at that time, but alive in the sense of the physical matter. But from the abstracted point of view, from the abstracted side, the abstract side, جانب المجرد, from the abstract side, his soul is not alive. His soul is not alive. His soul is dead. Besides, when we look in the third line, the contradiction between corn and tern, okay, and just we need to be careful here that corn or dhurra at that time was one of the most important crops at that time. We're talking like we can see it's like water and bread for us now. Okay, so at that time the corn was so valuable. Okay, and to assimilate it or to make it valueless, to devalue the corn, okay, at that time or during his time, devalue the corn and make it as nothing as the tears is another contradiction and paradox that reflects what? That reflects the devaluation of his life. So usually we need to remember that the speaker and the speaker or the writer is at the prime of his youth. When he was talking about I am at my prime of youth, he's telling a young man. Okay, he's all the things that care that is important for other people. He's not that it is not important for him. The things that are supposed to generate or make people happy is not making him happy no longer. Is not in, in another way. It is causing him pain instead of making him happy, because every time he will remember that thus such joys, okay, he will remember with it that he is going to lose such joys. He will not going to see and maintain such joys. Besides, he is stressing the fact that the devaluation of the life, of the happiness and the importance of life, like making a metaphor between or a comparison between corn and turns. And turns, we need to know that there are such the yellow balls and dirt that come out of the ears. In the fourth line in the first stanza, The writer goes further that even any hope that might keep ordinary people alive, usually it is hope for better life, hope for better future that keeps people alive. But such hope for him is without any value, is valueless for him. Okay? It is vain, it is vain hope for him. Now, in the fifth line, the day is gone and yet I saw no sun. Okay, and here the day, it might reflect or be symbolize that the current day he's living is gone and he's not going to see the sun of the following day, which means that he is going to die in the following day. Okay, or we can say something else that the day is gone, the day which must symbolize his life, the day of his life, like the duration of his life is gone. Okay, so another sun or another chance, okay, where sun here, let me highlight this, where sun here symbolizes new life, new hope, fresh start, okay, especially at the dawn of at in the morning when when the sun rises, it symbolizes of or reflects new life, fresh start, or second chances. Even this day is going to end, and the writer or the speaker, or the same person, the speaker, is not going to see to have another chance. He's not going to hope for another day. Okay, everything here is ending. His life is coming to an end. So either we can see the day as the day he's currently living. Okay, this is like we can say that it is the the 1st of January, and he's not going to see the 2nd of January, for example. Or we can see the day of the duration of his life is coming to an end, and he's not going to see the hope or the fresh start or the new start of the following days or the future. And in the last stanza, in the last line, the first stanza, the writer uses the same line to end each of the second or the following two stanzas here. And now I live, and and now I live, and now my life is done. Like currently I'm living, currently I'm still alive, but my life is done. Okay, I'm alive, but my life is done. I'm physically alive, my body is alive, okay, but my soul, my spirit, okay, my hopes, my dreams, the things that I used to care about are frozen. Okay, the joys are painful. The important things like corn are nothing, valueless, nothing with with value. Hopes for people, things that are generate hope for people for better future, for better life, are in vain, valueless for me. Okay, the day I'm living, I'm not going to see the no the following day, or I'm not expecting any other hope or any other better future or second chance. All of these things are represented here in this life, the abstract manner or the abstract way of life. All of these things are done and you're not going to see them.